Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen Buerta, for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
All right, welcome, Shireen here. I am your virtual boutique bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Outsourcing your bookkeeping through Shireen's bookkeeping services can save you time, money, and help you stay focused on what really matters. Our team of experienced professionals will handle all your bookkeeping needs from invoicing to payroll and everything in between. With our reliable and accurate services, you can rest easy knowing your finances are in good hands. Don't let bookkeeping slow you down any longer. If you want to know more, go check me out at www.shireensbookkeeping.com and allow me to keep your books clean so you don't have to. Welcome back. You are listening to Friends from Wild Places with myself, Shireen, and your amazing co-host, Tanya. Tanya, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing great, Shireen. Just got over some influenza and dealing with bronchitis, but things are looking up. So all in all, things are well. Nice new year and new goals, new manifestations. So all is well.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. So, Tanya, why don't you share with the listeners our little extra content subscriptions?
Yes, so we at Friends from Wild Places have had the podcast for several years now, putting out monthly guests and featured guests. And we also have bonus content. So for as little as $5 a month, you can subscribe to our additional bonus content where we can dive deeper into topics. Everything is raw, unedited, and we are always happy to go deeper into subjects that our listeners like. So if you are interested in hearing more, definitely reach out to us or hit the button to click and subscribe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya. All right, well, let's get into introducing our guest, our visitor for the next couple of episodes on our new series. Lisa Meade Romero is the founder of LMR Services and wears many hats to include beauty educator, former police officer, speaker, former high school teacher, and advisory director on multiple nonprofits, go-getter, wife, and joy spreader. Most often, people ask, how do you go from teacher to police officer to beauty educator? How does that even happen? Or the occasional, you don't look like a cop. Her response is simple. It's all about people and connections. Each and every stop along the way may not have been intentional or a lifelong goal, but it has led her to where she is now, carving her own intentional path and helping others to do the same. Lisa loves her winding road, and there is more to come. Finding an inner joy, she hopes to empower others to find and continue to learn along the way is her mission. Welcome, Lisa. It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you both for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, of course.
Super excited, Lisa. Super excited. I've been wanting you on this podcast forever. And I said, you know what? Now is a new year. We have to get you on. And I'd love for you. We're going to dive deep into your stories, plural, because there are many and you do wear many hats and you continue to inspire women and men alike, I should say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, Lisa, Tanya's been talking about you quite often when we speak about the guests that we want to have on our show. So I've also been looking forward to have you a part of Friends from Wild Places.
Now I feel pressure. No, I'm just kidding. I hope I live up to the expectations.
Of course. We will exceed our expectations.
Absolutely. So, Lisa, let's start off with the beginning of our podcast. We always do a little bit of an icebreaker for our listeners. And listeners, you know that Tanya and I seem to be a little bit of crime enthusiasts. But today, we want to talk about conspiracy theories. Yes, you heard right. Conspiracy theories. And listen, as a South African watching the world right now, it's quite interesting to observe. So before I continue that conversation, let's get into the interview with Sarah Adams. Former CIA officer Sarah Adams sat down with former Navy SEAL and agency contractor Sean Ryan during the latter's December 13, 2024 episode of the Sean Ryan Show. In it, Sarah Adams, who's an ex-CIA targeter and counterterrorism analyst, claimed that over 1,000 Al-Qaeda trained militants were in the USA and were seemingly planning a coordinated attack on American soil, something similar to the Hamas attack on Israel in October 2023. When asked how certain she was that something would happen in 2025, Sarah told Sean, "I'm certain we'll either have the embassy attacks in 2025 or the homeland attack, or both." Sarah Adams' comments came less than a month before back-to-back attacks in the USA on New Year's Day 2025 in New Orleans and Las Vegas, both suspected terror attacks. Amid these, her interview has now gone viral with a whole lot of conspiracy theories that have come along with it. So, as I was saying, as a South African sitting and watching the world, I'm sitting here and I'm watching Russia versus Ukraine, and I'm watching Hamas versus Israel, and now I think it's Israel versus Iraq, and then there's the two worldly governments, the two teams. You're either going to be on the NATO side or you're going to be on the BRIC side. What team? You got to pick a team, and I feel like the whole world is in this nobody make a false move. Everyone stay really still, because if anyone does one bad move, I feel like something's going to blow. You know what that feeling feels? So now, seeing this, I think my biggest question, ladies, is what do you guys think? Do you think that, Sarah, what she says is actually going to happen and transpire in 2025? What are your thinkings? I want to hear everyone's thoughts over this whole thing, Go ahead. Lisa,
Yeah,
let's start with you.
of course, of course. So I obviously have a little bit of I have a background in law enforcement, so I can probably understand multiple sides to this a little bit better than the general public. I think that what Sarah has to say is intriguing for several reasons. One is you cannot discount somebody's experience in a world that we don't understand, right? So in general, Americans are blessed to live in a bubble. We are so blessed that we tend to only look at what's going on in our house, in our neighborhood, in our state, in our country. And we have been without a lot of the strifes and struggles that a lot of other countries have had. So somebody who has lived it before or is living it or has been in that space has a wealth of knowledge and understanding that we really just can't even framework in our normal life. And I think that at times, whether it be the government or people in general, we have a hard time admitting we're wrong. We have a hard time admitting I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. I haven't figured it all out yet. And that's what makes everybody so uneasy right now, is I think because of this information age and the world has become so much smaller and rural in connection, and it's easier to get every place so quickly, that us not knowing everything and the instantaneous timeline that things can happen makes for a lot of unease at this point in society and what's going on right now.
Interesting. Tanya?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Lisa. I think, it's always interesting to me when you have people that either currently employed or formerly employed, and I don't want to use the word exploit, because that's probably not the exact word that I'm looking for, but it's the closest one that I can come up with at the moment. And it's almost like, as Lisa said, general public from wherever anyone sits to high level people in certain positions. There's definitely a disconnect of information, right? So sometimes when information gets, I don't want to maybe use the word exploited, shared, disseminated, whatever word you want to use, sometimes I want to know what the intention is, right? Because intention is, okay, creating mass hysteria amongst people that are living in a society that really don't have the authority, the knowledge, the experience, or the education to do anything about it. And it creates a hysteria. So I do question, and I'm not that familiar with her personally. I have seen the interview. I did dive a little deep into, her background. And with all due respect to her education and experience and history, I guess my question is, why that platform and why in that mode of delivery? So I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that she has reported in the past to many different state departments in many different countries. And a lot of the frustration is at times like, okay, I feel like I got some good information and I want to share it, right, with the people who are the right people to take action in such thing. And it's not getting done maybe in the fashion that she would have handled it, like in her previous career or in her previous station. And I think that what happens is we're removed from September 11th. We're removed from a personal connection to things. So those people who had that personal connection and really had that fight, they have much more passion or they think things should be going at a faster pace than maybe things are going in their mind. And maybe things are going at a faster pace and we're not privy, right, to all of it. I think that that's part of it too, right? She can provide open source information in an open source format, but if it's being actioned on in a classified manner, we're not getting that back. So we're kind of in this like, what's really going on? Is anything really happening? But it could be happening. We're just not allowed to know about it right now.
Right. Right.
How
I
about
love,
you? What do you think?
yeah. I love your points of views, ladies, and I wanted to hear what you both had to say because, see, what each of you said something really interesting, and so it kind of made me think, oh, right, that is a different way of looking at it. And again, as a South African, I'm going, well, finally, maybe these kind of pieces of information starting to slip through the government's hands, because I feel like for such a long time, the government has had such control over us because social media wasn't as big, media wasn't as big years ago. And so they had that control over their people. And I'm talking about us as well, governments in general over all countries. They had somewhat control over their people and what they could and could not listen to, and what gets leaked and what does not get leaked. And so it is very interesting that more and more of this kind of information is starting to get leaked. And granted, you can't believe everything that you hear, but to what extent, if you're hearing a certain amount of different people from different areas coming with the same pieces of information, then you kind of go, okay, wait, this is quite interesting, So yeah, I think thank you, ladies. I think it's a nice little chit chat, icebreaker. It is a very interesting chat, and I think we could actually continue because I have a lot to say about all these different conspiracy theories. But I mean, that could be an entire podcast, honestly. So let's leave it there and move on to quote of the day. Um, our amazing Lisa has given a very special quote that she goes by, and it goes, "We are where we are by the choices we have made or we have allowed others to make for us," by Linda Tupin, if I get her
Stupid.
name. Is it? Okay. So I I want to know, Lisa, what does that quote mean to you and why?
Thanks, Sheree. So this is the quote that I heard in my Mary Kay journey, and it made me go, oh, like it really made me look inside myself and be like, is that really? Is that true, right? Am I where I am because of the choices I have made or allowed others to make for me? And I think it resonates with me because at the core of who I am, I'm a freedom and choice person. I love the fact that I have the freedoms that I do, and I love the fact that I can choose what I want to do when I live in such a free country. That being said, it also makes me think, are there choices I could make, but I don't feel like I have the option to make, and therefore I'm allowing other people to determine which direction I go, right? So that old adage of not making a decision is a decision unto itself,
Right.
right? So sometimes it's like, do we go to college because it's really our choice? There was a choice made for us because our parents were like, oh, this is your next step. You're going to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your path in your career. Whatever it is, at times we might feel like, well, I can't go on that vacation because of my financial situation. All of those small things are choices that we're making in our head. Are we really putting thought and intention behind the choice, or are we just choosing the path of least resistance and not making a conscious choice? Or are we making the choice that's going to benefit other people without actually taking our own needs or wants into account? So choice is like such a big thing for me. And that's one of the things I like to talk about with women a lot is there is no balance, right? There's no life balance. Just accept the fact there is no balance. It resides in choice. What you determine or what you design out of your life is just a sum of your choices. There is no illusion of balance that we're trying to attain.
Right. Right. That is so good. That's so good. And funny, Tanya, I'm always talking about, Tanya and I read a book and we talk about it on the extra content sometimes, where we read a little excerpt out of it. But, and what I took out of the book was the quote, you get to decide. And it's along those same lines where, the author speaks about how so many of the decisions we make are, very much had other inputs being put into it that's helped us make the decision that we've made. And many times, for some people, they've allowed too much input from other parties, whether it be friends or family, pastors, whoever, and eventually realizing, hey, you know what? I get to decide. I get to decide. There's no right or wrong answer. I get to decide, and it might offend some family members, but at the end of the day, I'm on this journey. This is my piece of canvas. I get to paint it with any color or however I want to paint it, with any sort of paint I like. And there's no, every splash of paint is a part of the collage that you're creating, and it's really, it's all you. And honestly, you're not wasting one moment in any decision that you've made. It's really all part of making you the person that you are today. So thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that. That's quite a good quote to go by. So, Lisa, can you give us a little bit of a background of who you are?
Oh, great question. I always say I am who I am. Like you get what you get. I'm a very honest person up front, and my mission is really just to add joy and add value wherever I go.
Right.
And I think that's because at times I haven't had that, right? And now that I've come into my own, I want other people to have that. I want everybody in the world to have their peace, whatever that is for you, right? Whatever that is for you. I want you to feel joy. I want you to have peace. I want you to have meaningful relationships. I want you to feel good about yourself. And if I can do anything to help you on that journey, like I'm there. Um, And that probably has come from just I've always had more of that servant heart. That's just been my outlook my whole life, like as a little kid, like, oh, I can help with that, give me something to do. And it led to not only my teaching career, right? And then into law enforcement, both helping other people. And even in my beauty business, it's that adding value, right? Me noticing later in life that I had lost a part of myself, right? I had lost that feminine part of myself and recognizing my struggle that was the same for other women. Like I'm not comfortable putting on makeup. I don't want to look like a crazy YouTuber. I, don't want to be looking like I'm trying to be 12 when, I'm 43. All of those struggles, or I don't even really know how to take care of my skin. Like my mom, God bless her, she was, a very young or, young mom. She didn't have those skills. Like, hey, let me teach you how to wash your face properly. Let me teach you how, none of those. So I struggled with that my whole life to realize those small things, those small self-care moments add so much to your self-worth. Add so much to your self-worth.
Mm.
And if I can help a woman or a man or a teen have that confidence, it can change a community. It really can, right? So when you change a mom, you change the family. When you change the family, you change the neighborhood, you can change the community. Like everything is so interconnected that that small act of kindness makes a difference, like the things that always make me smile is like you go in and out of Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or whatever it is, and I will always hold the door. Like I don't care if you're like halfway through the parking lot. They're like trying to, I'm like, just wait. Like it's fine. Like I'm here. And then I smile because they hold it for somebody else. And the next person, like it's like a trickle effect. And I'm like, like that's the one change I affected today. Like all those people now have a smile on their face because that didn't happen yesterday morning.
Right.
Like the door hit them in the face. It's just like, like people want to be seen. They want to know that they're valued. And we can do that in small things. It doesn't take big things. So
Right. Right. That's amazing. Tanya and I, when Tanya chatted about you the other day, the one question that I asked her, and Tanya, you can carry on after this. I just wanted to know from you, what made you decide to go out on your own instead of remaining in the, police force or working for someone else? You can still help people via that way. So that's, what made you decide to go out on your own as opposed to that?
well, I think so. I had my business and I was a police officer for a long time, for
Okay.
8 years.
Okay.
Yes. And I think that for me, Mary Kay reminded me that I was a woman, reminded me that there are happy people in the world, and I can knock on somebody's door and they have a smile. I'm not bringing them the worst news of their life. I'm not in the middle of the crisis with them, right? It was a whole different side of the world when I'm helping people feel beautiful.
Right.
And when my law enforcement career ended, right, in its normal course, I was just like, I don't want to let this go. Like I don't need to work. I'm blessed. I do not need to work. I do not need to go out and make money. I have a beautiful pension. But it's such a vehicle for me to see people's lives change that maybe I'm like, okay, it's a little bit selfish, right? Like I love it and I don't want to give it up. Like I love to be part of that journey with people. To have a woman in her 70s look in the mirror and say, I finally feel pretty. I'm like, oh, I want you to feel beautiful all the time. Like it's a gift. Like it's a gift I get to give, but I get so much back out of it. And now it's opened up the doors to so many other things, I think, because I've grown in the process. It's opened up. Now what else? Like how else can I add value outside of cosmetics, outside of skincare to make the world better? How else can I value?
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So then let me rather ask this then, since you've had your business for such a long time, and then you were a police officer alongside that, how did you know that, okay, now I'm done here? it's time. You know, the police, being a police officer, has come to a point where it's over now, and I just want to focus on my business, you know?
Yeah. So I think that I knew going into my law enforcement career that my goal was to hit my pension mark and go. To me, it was a tool, right? I love law enforcement. It has changed a lot since I've been in it. And not just because society has changed. I mean, just people and change, leadership styles change. And for me, in my law enforcement career, there was no place I could grow, right? There was no place. Could I have advanced in rank? Yes. Could I have moved in different positions? I've probably done a dozen different positions in the police force. I could do all of those things. However, that career no longer afforded me a vehicle to grow as a person or to affect change in the way that I wanted to affect change.
Tune in next week for part 2 from Friends from Wild Places.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Bueta. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.